Yes.
I could also just get started. I could also put a quick link there.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear us? No, you have not reached reading time already. We're just getting started. Hello, hello. Can you hear us? Hello. You can. Excellent. Okay, I know you guys are really excited to hear more about crafting, and we have a lot of special surprises for you today. So we're going to get to that. And here is MJ.
Hey guys, gals, elves, funny Mike. Not sure what I'll do with it. Not totally true. I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I know it'll be annoying and funny, I hope. So, yeah, welcome. This is going to be the last streaming session for CSE this year. We are going on break officially at the end of the day tomorrow, and we will return after the new year. And apologies, I am fighting a nasty sore throat. I've got hot soup. I had to send Michelle out to get some other cold stuff, and people have been running around like crazy today to get ready. So this is going to be a really interesting stream. Things may blow up. My voice might kind of go boom. We're going to show some live streaming, and as I mentioned on MOP a few moments ago, yeah, we're changing things at the last minute. And, well, I think you folks know what happens when we do things like that, or anyone does things like that. So we're going to be having some fun today. So let's start with crafting. In a moment, or hopefully a moment, we'll have a hot link for you guys to look at. We have finished it, let's see, 1.5 minutes ago.
It's fresh. It's very fresh.
It's very fresh. A PowerPoint with about, I think, 35 pages of bullets and art that will give you an overview of the crafting system. Everything that we have written so far is, well, not everything, almost everything that we've written is at least touched on, maybe at the very macro level. Certainly it couldn't fit into that size document on the micro level. And when we go to break, reading break, you guys can go grab the PDF or PowerPoint and start, looking at all the interesting things that is in our crafting system. So, I don't know, is the link ready yet?
Yep, I'm putting it in chat in a sec here.
Yay! It's going in. Told you it was fresh. Well, while we're still waiting for the link to go in, as always, we thank you. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for the presents. We continue to get little gifts or bigger gifts from you folks, and obviously we appreciate it. Oh, and before I forget, there'll also be an update tomorrow, to end the year with more goodness in it. But in the meantime, while we're still waiting for Link, I'll start talking about the crafting system in general.
Okay,
So-
looks like a link is up, unless you want to begin.
Oh, Link is up?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Then I get to use this. So
Okay.
instead of bossa nova,
Jolly old Saint Nicholas.
There you go. Can y'all hear that? Everybody sing! Wow. Do you think they'll get through all those
Oh,
pages?
Christmas tree.
there's more. HLC, could you put the clock back?
Somebody had said it. He was good with electronics, which is not me. Or you can still count down an hour from that now.
Are people able to get it? Everything's going okay?
Yeah. They're asking why you're not in a Santa hat. They're disappointed.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll-
where is the Santa hat?
We should get that.
Yeah.
We wish you a
Also, guys, you'll see Ben later on. He's fine. Really? He's fine. Don't worry. They're RIP Ben. He's out on the couch. They don't know what to do. Concerned.
All right, you guys asked for it.
This is what makes.
There you go. I am now as
Every kid is
embarrassed as I possibly could be. Well, could probably be even more embarrassed.
There you go. All right. Do you think that's long enough reading break?
I think so. All right. So enough with the jolly old Santa and elves and frivolity, and let's get on to what most of you have come here to hear about and to see, which is me talking about our crafting system. So if you were in the BSC days or you saw the BSC presentations, obviously some of this material won't be new. And if you've gone to our forums and seen the old crafting doc, also some of this won't be new to you. On the other hand, for most of you, this will be new material, and even for those who have seen the material, there's a lot of new stuff in this as well, and there'll be an extended, or there'll be a Q&A about the crafting system. So let's start with the simple, most basic premise of this system, or of what I'm going to talk about today, which is, again, this is the crafting system. It is not me talking about the crafting class, because frankly, we do not have enough time to talk about a crafting class if we only have an hour. The crafters will have not only everything that I'm going to talk about today and in future updates regarding the crafting system as things they can do, but they're going to have all the RVR stuff they're going to do, all the different materials, all the different weapons, all the other things that they are going to be involved with. Frankly, I couldn't talk about it in an hour and have Q&A if my life depended on it. I'd have to do one of those Shakespeare, in what is it, the complete works of Shakespeare in 90 minutes or something like that. So we're not going to even try to do that. So today's reveal is all about crafting, just crafting. Not much, a little bit maybe with RVR, a little bit with what the characters are going to look like, and a few other things, but it really is about crafting. So let's start with, as always, the guiding principles. So just as I said during the BSC days, we have to support both popcorn crafting and full-time crafters, including artisan level crafters. That is part of the system, that has been part of the system from the beginning through BSC through now. That hasn't changed. We must create a vibrant economy. That is obviously crucial. A lot of the decisions you're going to hear about and you're going to see when we start putting the system in next year really are really based around the idea of driving an economy that not only can work the first day and the first year, but beyond that. That's not easy. As most of you who have played MMOs and even MUDs know, the term mudflation is unpopular for a reason. And it really happens in every MMO, regardless. Certainly you might say that EVE has a pretty good handle on their economy, but that's obviously quite a different game than we're making here. But the idea still is we must have an economy that's going to work, because if it breaks down, if crafters don't want to craft, if new players coming into the game don't want to play crafters, well, then the economy goes to hell. So a lot of the decisions, and some that you guys may not like, are not driven by us trying to monetize a cash shop because, hey, we have no cash shop, and we're not going to have a cash shop, but rather to keep the economy vibrant, to keep it from, really the kind of disasters that we've seen in a lot of MMOs. So keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. We've said right from the beginning, of course, there'll be no auction house. That isn't changing. We're going to discuss in this, I'm going to discuss the stores, merchants, and things like that during this reveal that will show some of the things we're going to do to replace an auction house. Crafting is magic. You've heard this all before, and certainly as we get to the Vox and the explanation of how it all works, again, for some, new to others, you'll see just how seriously I mean that. Going back to the Vox, of course, it's a singular interface. We are sticking with that. We are changing some things about the Vox, but it's still the concept of the Vox is the interface for all the different systems in crafting. That is the best way for us to do things. I think it's going to work out very well for all of us, and frankly, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Finally, like everything else in this game, the crafting system, the economy, all have to be designed with a long-term view. Talked about this earlier, but you can't say it enough. You cannot design a system as complex as crafting and not take that long-term view. So that's it on the guiding principles. What? Not sure why that's in there. Let's go next. The next slide in the presentation. Boy, it feels like I'm back at EA. Actually, no, it doesn't. I'm happy. Let's talk about the core philosophy. Sorry. Let's talk about the core philosophy for this crafting system. Quality over quantity. That's really important. We talked about during the BSC how I had no interest, and no one here, frankly, has any interest, in designing a crafting system where the crafters are turning out thousands of items. That's just not, what we're going for. A single crafter will not be able to sit, by a mailbox and simply craft out tons of items, or even many items, just because they have the mats. You're going to have to use your Vox. Things are going to take time. It's always a question of quality. And this is infused in all the different subsystems of crafting. Slow crafting equals rewarding crafting. Obviously, really important. If there are 10,000 bows on the market, it's going to be pretty hard to get a good price as a crafter for a bow. So the fact that we are going to have a slower crafting system. Now that doesn't mean boring, that doesn't mean monotonous, and you're going to see how we deal with that. But it does mean that you will not be able to flood the market with lots of goods. Even if people dump mats on you, it's just not going to work that way. You are what the materials say, your minerals say you are. And that really describes, one of the absolute most important bits of the crafting system. Excuse me. This is not a recipe-based system. This is not a system where you put together some just some magical items and out comes an iron sword. If you want an iron sword, you have to get iron. If you want steel, you have to get iron and mix it with the right reagents. Everything that you put into your item, whether it's a sword, whether it's an armor, even if it's food, is all based on what you put into it. And that's a really cool and, I shouldn't say unique because obviously it's been done before. It was done in my mud 30 years ago. But it is a pretty key feature of the crafting system. Buying and selling shouldn't be a pain in the ass. Without an auction house, you will certainly should wonder, how are we going to do that? We're going to talk about some of that today. But even though I've been against auction houses right from the get-go with this project, it is important though that buyers and sellers can get connected. They can connect easily, and they can connect in a way that helps create the social network for this game. And it should be done in-game and not via social networks. Rarity should be embraced. Look, you're not going to be able to find every mat you want whenever you want it. Materials are going to be scattered around the world. They'll be found in the depths. They'll be found in other places. This is not going to be a system where everything is easy to get, nor is it always available. This is a system where you're going to have to earn those higher end materials. You're going to have to find the minerals. You're going to have to find the right places to mine, and then you're going to have to hold them. Because if everything comes easily, then also the economy falls apart. And finally, nothing lasts forever. Item decay. This is something, again, goes back to my old mud, as well as many other games. Item decay is a part of this game. It's always going to be a part of the game. Things have to break. Now, you can repair things. You can salvage things. I don't want to talk about that. But at the end of the day, nothing lasts forever. And it needs to be that way if we want to keep our crafters happy and the economy going. And obviously, that's an important part of this game. So, moving on. Let's talk about the Vox. So, Genesee, could you put up the interface for
Okay, does that fix it? Is it fixed? Can you hear?
Give them 20 seconds.
Yeah. Test, 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 test. Okay, so that is
Okay, we have sound. Funny. We did all the class reveals. We've done other things. No problem. Of course, today there's a problem. My sore throat, and apparently some problems with Twitch. So let's get back to the Vox. It is an updated crafting station. Obviously, other games have used crafting stations before. Some games like Star Wars Galaxies, obviously, Vanguard and other games have really done absolutely tremendous job with them. And that's actually a good, quick little segue. When you look at, and you're going to hear a lot of things from me about this crafting system, and it's important to know that this system, like almost every other system you'll find in MMOs, is generally built upon other great systems or other great ideas that went before. I've always talked about the difference between revolutionary and evolutionary ideas in MMOs. And certainly I've and my studios have done a whole bunch, or added a whole bunch of pretty revolutionary things to the industry. In this case, it is another evolutionary step. It is something that's built upon my old game Dragon's Gate, which had the concept of combining materials to make spells, or combining minerals and weapons to actually make different weapons, just as you're going to hear here. Or games like Star Wars Galaxies, where Raph did an absolutely fabulous job. One of the best ever on the crafting system. I hope that you guys are going to love what you hear. and that, in a few years you'll look back at this crafting system and go, yeah, we did a pretty cool job. Because frankly, that's my intention. We want to create a crafting system that's going to stand the test of time, and frankly, one of the things it starts with, I think, is the Vox. So again, we've made some changes. As you can see from the interface, and this is of course just a prototype interface. Sorry. We want it to be very interactive. This is not something that you're simply going to drop the raw materials in and hit one button and be able to walk away. This is going to be something that you are going to have to, depending on what stage of crafting, pay a lot of attention to and be involved in. We want to make it interactive. We want to make it look good. We want to make it look interesting. And I think we've done that with the Vox. So we want this system, or we want this Vox, to be used for every main subsystem of crafting. So as I go into detail as to what those are, understand that the Vox will be part of it at some level. No, you're not going to have to drag the big Vox in order to mine some materials, but it's still involved in that at a different level. It is soul-bound. So your Vox is your Vox. You'll be thinking of your Vox in the same way that mages think of their spell books. It is something that is yours. It is something that you're going to level. It is something you're going to upgrade. It is as important to you as the weapons are to the combatants, as spell books are to mages. This is your big thing. And again, it is upgradable from day one till the end of time. These upgrades, and I'll touch upon this later, can come from things that you can find out in the wilderness. They'll come from things that you're going to buy from your realm. They come from things that even combatants will get for you besides the materials. The Vox is something that we want you folks to take pride in, to customize both in terms of cosmetics as well as in terms of its functionality. Most important thing to remember about the Vox, and this is going to be without a doubt one of those points that some people may disagree with us on, is the use of Vox power. Now, you've seen this described maybe as energy systems in other games. First thing to start with, and I cannot emphasize this enough, and I am going to emphasize this multiple times during this presentation, we're not using this as a cash shop. No cash shop, not now, not going forward. So when you hear the concept behind it, Vox power, do not think the first thing we're going to do is try to monetize it. We're not. The idea of the power of the Vox is to eliminate the possibility of people hot seating, of people using the Vox 24 hours a day for 7 days straight. It is not something that if you use the Vox for an hour, then you no longer can play your character. That would be dumb. On the other hand, it is something that you're going to have to work with and consider as a crafter. You're going to want to upgrade your Vox. You're going to want to upgrade your Vox's power, because that's going to be the limiter. That is the gating factor that will prevent you from making too many items in a 7-day week. So, keep in mind slow crafting as well. So you're not going to be sitting there and trying to craft all these items 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It can't happen. It won't happen. The Vox won't take it. What we're going to do is we're not going to put it on a cliff. So it won't be something like, hey, you use the Vox for an hour, it shuts down, and now you can't do anything. What will happen is the Vox will have a certain amount of power. That power will be based on your progress as a crafter. When you start running down the Vox's power, it will become less efficient. Essentially power saving mode that you have on your phone or your PC. And then as it becomes less and less efficient, it will reach a point where there are things that you'll be able to do to recharge it. You'll be able to put your own power into it. You'll be able to use the equivalent of backup power, crystals that you can put into the Vox to allow it to keep going. There'll also be a big red emergency button that you can hit that will give you some additional power. But understand, these are choices you're going to have to make because they all come at a cost. The more you overuse your Vox, the more you push your Vox, the more damage that it's likely to do. Crafters and combatants. Think about that. Think of this in the same way. as combatants use their weapons, as they use their armor, they run the risk of item decay there. If they get close to breaking, and you'll know beforehand as an item's quality is starting to diminish, that there's a chance of something bad happening. If you continue to go out there, you continue to fight, you continue to use that armor and weapons, yes, there's a chance that something bad will happen. Same thing with the Vox. The choice is yours. That's one of the things you're going to have to determine as a crafter. How does a Vox get upgraded? Right now we're just calling it, because we're using Vox Mages, the Libro Mages. The book, that's the instruction manual for the Vox. See, the Vox's skills are different from your skills as a crafter. You will have your crafting skills. And this is also a reason why, this is not something we could cover in an hour if we're going over the Vox in detail, going over crafting in detail, and even trying to then go into RVR in detail. You will be upgrading your Vox through the Libro. Think of it like, oh boy, a memory stick that you will continue to upgrade it. You will continue to give it different abilities. And that special gem or gems will be what you could take with you if you were going to use a different Vox. If we allow crafters to have multiple Voxes, if we do, and I'll talk about this a little later with the merchant guilds and realm rewards, you may be able to go and use some other Vox other than your own. And the Libro and the company gems and jewels, that's what will allow you to do that. So one thing to keep in mind, as you're hearing all this again, as a crafter, these are choices you're going to have to make. If you want to spend more time on your Vox, you can. You can also spend more time in RVR if you want, or do a combination of both. The choice is yours. You're not going to be pigeonholed, just like fighters, won't be pigeonholed by only going out for sieges. If you want to be just a siege guy and you don't want to do any 8-men, well, you don't have to. That's your choice. Same with crafting. If you want to always be working on the Vox, if you always want to be doing the crafting portion, the pure crafting portion of the game, you're going to be free to do that. We aren't going to stop you. But the choice is also going to be there to do other things. So again, upgrading your Vox, just as I've already talked about. You upgrade it with crystals. You're going to upgrade it with realm rewards. Hey, got that out with a double R without stumbling on it. You're going to do that by earning the favor of your realm, just as combatants earn the favor of their realm. You will have the choice to do that. If you want to help support your realm, and I'll talk about this more a little later, you can do that. If you want to be a bit more of the solo player who doesn't care quite as much about the realm, you can still support it by essentially helping the other players in the game. So again, upgrading your Vox, major part of the progression track for our crafters. So if you look at the, you've already seen the UI for the Vox. What you were seeing there is refining. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But keep in mind that the image that is before you is, of course, just a prototype. It's going to change. They always change. But this is a pretty good idea of how things are going to work. So let's go a quick systems overview. So right now, the major systems, or major subsystems, of our crafting system are taking. That's known as gathering, harvesting, right? Mining. Purifying. Purifying, also refining. The reason why changing it to purifying, kind of refining sounds odd if you were going to do it to wood, if you were going to do it to other materials. So instead of refining, purifying. After that, the shaping. The shaping is where you take the refined materials and you combine them into blends, into alloys. After that, we have making. That's the final step in the crafting process, and it is there where all the materials you've assembled get put into or are used by the Vox and assembled in their final shape. Just like the BSC days, think of it as a 3D printer. Two other systems, breaking, which is salvaging. So in salvaging, you will take an item that exists or one that is broken and you break it down to its component parts, or if it's already broken, you break it down into materials and potentially a blueprint that you can use going forward. Then, of course, there is repairing, and repairing is repairing. Nothing new and terribly exciting there. Repairing is one of those things that popcorn crafters are going to be able to do well, but at the higher levels, you're going to need a crafter and you're going to need the Vox. One of the things that you'll see on the left part of the PowerPoint is the research, and that is something that I am just thinking about. I haven't used research, in some of my other systems, and I'm intrigued to see if we can make it work here. Not sure that we can, but we'll think about it. So when you put these systems together, what do you get? Well, you get items, you get materials, but you also get craft to fame, craft to honor, and realm rewards. How that all fits together, I'll talk about in a few slides. So next, let's talk about taking. Again, this is pretty simple stuff. You go out into the woods, you chop down trees, you look for things to harvest. You go into bubbles, where we've talked about where you'll do your mining. You go into quarries. That is all taking. Again, easier than calling it gathering, harvesting, mining, skinning, etc., but it's all the same thing. We'll also use magic to raise trees or to do other things as well. Magic, of course, is heavily involved on both ends, whether it is on the crafting end or in order to make things happen. This is simply the way that players take all the raw materials that we put out in the game and bring them in-house for you guys to play around with them. Looking at the different... any problem?
No, we're okay.
Okay. So looking at taking, one of the things that people have asked on the forums is a question of whether are players who are not crafters as effective at taking or harvesting as other players. And the answer is, unfortunately, yes and no. The yes part...
Let's give us 10 seconds just to make the rest of the stream easier.
Sure.
Disable. That's the only place. Now just turn that off when we go to outro.
Okay, awesome.
And so you don't have to
Your efficiency was so efficient. Go ahead.
Carry on.
Okay, so back to taking. So yes, non-crafters will be able to take things from the world as well. Will they be as effective as crafters? Probably not. Certainly they won't be at the higher level. And in some cases, non-crafters won't even be able to see certain materials that are in the world. You won't be able to recognize that special mushroom, or you won't be able to recognize that certain rock or gem. We certainly want non-crafters to be able to go out there and gather and help, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our crafters are the most effective at it. So the combatants will be going out and scouting. They'll be finding some materials, they'll be finding these veins, they'll be finding the spots, and hopefully then calling in the crafters to come out with their special tools, to actually do the mining or the gathering, etc., and bring the materials back with them. So there should be hopefully a good bit of symbiosis between the two groups. And at the end of the day, since I think crafters are going to be pretty busy doing other things, I think it's going to work out well, especially when we get to a system that I'm going to discuss later involving apprentices. What else? Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to discuss then will be the use of automated harvesting. The idea that a crafter is going to have to spend all their time running around the world picking posies or doing mining, that's not going to work. That would be silly for a game like ours. So what we want to be able to do is allow some automation for the crafters so they can be free to do other things. Nothing comes for free, as always. There is a cost associated with gathering, especially with mining, with harvesting fields, with farming. All that stuff is going to come at a cost. So this is not going to be free money. It can't be, certainly if we want to keep the economy the way we want to keep it. In terms of something else, it is, it's a real good question. Should we make this gathering and harvesting more interactive? Do we want to make it a mini game? Do we want to make it something that is not just you push a button and you pick it up? I think for some things we're going to do that. Certainly mining makes sense. It doesn't really make sense when you're going up and just picking flowers. So, we're going to look at what we can do to make it a little less boring than it might be in other games, but time will tell. So, the next system. Once you've taken the material, what do? That's purifying. And if you look at the Vox, that's what you're seeing there. Purifying is when you take the raw material and then through the process of purifying, you reduce it to a small amount of material. Why do you reduce it to a small amount of material? Is because just like in the real world, all raw materials have impurities in it. The purifying process removes those impurities and gives you a refined item, a purified item. One of the things that will play very heavily into this part of the system is the idea of quality. Quality of the material is really important. No, you're not going to have to go out and always find the highest level material, highest quality material to make something, but you're certainly going to want the higher quality materials. And that is part of what the purification process does. It brings the materials you put in up to their highest quality. Now, can you raise something above the highest quality or the quality of the item that you got? No, because when raw material is put into the world, we know what its top end is. We also know what it is currently. So your role in this is to take that raw material, get rid of the impurities, get rid of anything else that could be in there. Though some of it you want to salvage or use, which will be called byproducts, to produce that refined material, that purified material. I've got to learn to say it. So, this is something that may be a mini game. Now, should it be something like a Connect 3? No. But can we make this something that's interactive? Can we make this something that you want to do most of the time? Yes. But it is also something that once you learn how to do it, that's when you can turn it over to your apprentice. Or you can even let the Vox, once the Vox is leveled up enough, you can let it do it on its own. That's part of what you're going to be doing as you level up your crafter and level up your Vox, essentially teaching it to do some things on your own so you don't have to stay there while some of these slower processes happen. So let's talk about the process of purifying. So how that works. You go to your Vox. You're standing there, maybe standing out in the open, and the Vox, is going to do its thing. You could be in your store, you could be in a house. It all starts with you taking the raw materials and you put it in the Vox. Really easy. After that, that's when hopefully the fun starts, and you start adding reagents to the Vox. These reagents help pull out the impurities within the raw materials. These reagents will also, at times, help yield a byproduct. That byproduct might be worth something, might not be, and every so often it could be very valuable. Now, that's good RNG. Will there be bad RNG where the whole thing could blow up? Not likely. You'd have to be really trying something super special for there to be any danger at this stage. We want to make refining really as stress-free as it can be. So if there is RNG, it's not going to be applied in a way like you put in all this great raw material that you just found, and then all of a sudden it blows up and you lose everything. No way. That is not our intent. This is really focused on the good part, the good application of the RNG. So as the Vox is purifying, you are free to do other things, or you're free to stand there and play with the sliders and the dials and the jewels, whatever the final interface finally looks like. And that can help you, and that's a decision you're going to have to make. So, next, shaping. Shaping is where you take these refined materials and you combine them. So, let's say you were trying to make a steel sword. This is the place where you would take the refined iron and you would add the reagents, whatever you would normally use, to make the steel. Now, you could do it just like in the real world, or you could do it in the fantasy world. In the fantasy world, we're going to use some of the same basis for these reagents that you would use in the real world. But we're also going to add, obviously, magical items. And that's where the system really starts to get interesting. At this point, you're really changing the physical characteristics of your of your purified materials. This is the part of the game, or the crafting system, where you are changing the materials so that if you want to create steel that's a little more effective at killing than other steels, you can do that. You can also change the materials of the steel so it is less likely to break than normal steel. You can change the steel so it is more effective at resisting heat than steel normally is. This is the part of the crafting system that I think the majority of you are really going to like, because this is when you get to play with all the physical characteristics of the system to create these blends. And the blends, these alloys, are all so important to the final item. Obviously, we could do this through the year system, the engraving system, where you can add different resistances. But a lot of the things that you're going to be able to add to your item, a lot of the things that you would normally have to add through magic, you're going to be able to add to the item simply by combining different raw materials, different reagents, and other things to create an item. So that's the really cool part. It really is non-recipe based. It is up to you how you make these things work. And all the properties that you'll find, well, almost all the properties, except when we get into Fantasyland, but so many of the properties are really drawn from the real world. So there are things, if you look at, I'll put this up obviously on our forums, you'll see a list of all the properties we have now for these raw materials, and more that we're going to have down the road. And that is the best part of being a crafter. That is where you're going to get to customize the item to what the combatant wants. So you'll be able to create all different items, not just the usual iron sword or steel sword or all that stuff. You're going to be able to create these weapons out of these special materials that you have made that make them really unique and different from anyone else's, if you choose to. Obviously, people are going, oh, well, but this is the, OP version. This is the Uber version. This is the one, steel sword to rule them all. But in reality, it's not going to work that way. You're going to have a lot of choices and different players, especially when you factor in weight, you factor in swing speed, all the things that are important to this. They're going to be an awful lot of different combinations, and frankly, they're only limited by what you want to do as a crafter and what your buyer wants to do as a combatant. So after blending, the next and final phase of the basic crafting system, of course, is shaping. A long day, long week, is making. Making is the 3D printer. It's the assembly. It is the easiest part overall of the crafting system to master. This is actually the part that we want to have the most automated. We don't want you guys sitting there all day and night, pushing buttons or just watching things. You've made the decisions. You've done the hard part when you've gone through the other stages. You've gotten the materials. You've purified them. You've shaped them into what form you want, and now you're simply assembling them. And that's the final stage. You put your materials in the hopper. You can make some choices, because there's always going to be choices. But at the end of the day, or the hour, that's when the item is done. You don't have to stand there. It can be done offline. It's all meant not to make your life more miserable as a crafter. It's rather to absolutely control the flow of goods. And I will say that, I've said this before and I'll say it again, that is something we absolutely are trying to do. We don't want an unlimited or even a flood of items on the market. We don't want people to be able to say, "Oh yes, my guild just dumped, 10,000 mats on me, so I can create 1,000 swords instantly." That's not going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. How it's not going to happen. It's the way the Vox works, the time it takes to assemble what you have put together into the final item, and when it's done, you sell it. It's really as simple as that. So, while I've said we don't want it to be too, too interactive, there will still be a chance for RNG. Good RNG? Absolutely. We want, you to be able to have some fun with this. Obviously, when you're taking a chance, looking for something a little bit better, something bad can happen. We're not looking at the, hey, I've just dumped a week's worth of gathered and refined materials, into the Vox, and now something bad has happened and it all goes away. That's not what we're looking to do. Your skill, by the time you are getting up to those more difficult items, your skill will be to the point that, hey, even if something bad happens, your Vox will be powerful enough and you'll be powerful enough to prevent your loss of all materials. We just don't, really want you guys to spend that kind of time, especially in a system where we've said the gathering, isn't going to be super fast. Purifying isn't going to be super fast. If you lost everything you did, it's a quit point, and we don't want that. On the other hand, we do want a little bit of fun. So maybe when you make the item, you'll get the 1 in 1,000 that I talked about during the BSC. Maybe something special will happen with your Vox. But for the most part, it's going to be good. And even if it's bad, it's not going to be catastrophic, unless something incredibly random happened. And the chances of that, well, look, if you've got, a whole bunch of master craftsmen around and you're trying to create the one ring of power and something bad happens, yeah, okay, something bad might happen. But realistically, not going to happen to the vast majority of crafters. So that's it for the core systems of creating an item. What's left, and I'm going to try to whip through this part, fairly quickly, because I see we are coming up on our time. Because I definitely want to get Q&A, and because I'm running long on this, what I think I'll do is I'll add another Q&A session after we get to stream the game, because that's really important, and I know the guys here really want to show you what we've been working on. So let's go to breaking. Breaking is just salvaging. The key to remember with breaking is that you're looking to get materials, you're looking to get blueprints, and you're also learning skills that will help you in that stage that I just mentioned before in making, so that once you learn how something really works by salvaging it, you also have a lesser chance when you're creating that item of something catastrophically bad happening. So, going to raw materials, I've talked about this already. There's going to be a ton of raw materials in the world. Every raw material has a large list of properties. Those are the properties that will be used to define both the refined item as well as the finished item. Materials will be found scattered all over the place, obviously, and this is a little tropish, I'm sorry, but the best materials, of course, are going to be found in the most dangerous areas. So the depths is going to be a place you guys are going to want to control. There'll be other places of power, special mines, other places that will have goods that you're going to want. But, as I said also from the beginning, you'll always be able to get raw materials as a new crafter. There'll always be, well, I shouldn't say always, hopefully always be, that'll be up to you folks, stores that the king will own, your realm, and he can release as needed. So, while I think, as I said earlier, rarity should be embraced, we're also not trying to set up a system where this is just not fun to play. So, you think about it, there'll be materials everywhere, scattered all over the world, whether it's iron, whether it's different crystals. You'll see in the full document I talk about a little bit on how all of this works together. So, playing a crafter. So, look, crafters, just like combatants, all need their own unique looks. And if you look at the PowerPoint, you'll see 3 examples, one from each realm of potential look for the crafters. They'll have different armor. They'll have different hammers. They'll have different tools. The idea is each crafter must look unique. Each crafter, just like the combatants, will have their own skills that will be different from the other realms. Certain crafters will be better, or certain realms, will be better at doing things than the other realms. This is no different than the combatants. Just as they have to be different, so do our crafters. Now, will these differences be game breaking? Of course not. We have a horizontal leveling system, so it's not like all of a sudden the Vikings are going to be able to make a hammer that hits twice as hard as the TDD. Look, we all know that the Vikings, are just so much better, at hitting than the TDD anyway. But 2x, something like that, obviously is not going to happen. But there needs to be different skills. There needs to be different looks. That's important. Another thing, your RVR abilities will also be different. As I said, and I'm going to talk about this in another document, the crafters will have abilities in RVR. You'll be able to do things such as make traps. You'll be able to make explosive devices. You'll be able to do things to help yourself, not necessarily become a player killer, because that wouldn't really make sense, but to be able to survive longer, to help out. Yes, you should always run if you see an enemy coming at you and you're outnumbered one-on-one. But that was a joke. Hopefully, Genesee didn't laugh. I hope some of you got it. But you still need some skills, and you will have them in this game. So what's the crafter's day one is going to be? What is their first day, day one, going to be like in the world? So a new crafter comes in and you think, wow, as a combatant, I can go out and get stuff. What can I do as a crafter? Well, what you're going to be able to do to start with is get work orders. Work orders are where you go to your realm and you find out what they need you to do. These are not daily quests. Let's just be really clear. A work order is not a daily. What a worker order is for the crafters is a way for the guys who've just come into the game, who can't go out, and fight and kill, to be able to level their crafter. Because otherwise you all have day one crafters sitting around going, I want to craft, but I have no materials. Or even with the safe areas where you'll be able to get some materials, maybe, for whatever reason, you don't even know about that. It'd be kind of odd, but, that might happen. But you're going to start and you'll be offered a work order right away. And you'll learn about these, and that will be a way that even looking for a good word here, and it's just escaping me, but let's just say the most newbie of noobs, who has no idea how to play a crafter, who hasn't played an MMO before, they come into this game, they will say, or the realm will say, hey, I see you're a new crafter, let me give you something to do. Same with combatants, obviously, we've talked about having battlegrounds for them when they start the game, just so they can learn how to play the system. This is the crafter equivalent. Now, work orders are also going to go further than that. Work orders, as you progress as a crafter, getting a work order from your realm is a way to help level your character, not only in terms of the skills, not only in terms of your Vox, but also to earn realm rewards, to help in your craft to honor and craft to fame. This is a way that you're going to go to the realm and find out what they need. Again, these are not dailies. They won't be available all the time. They will scale based on the needs of your realm. So for example, let's say you have a realm that's really under siege. The guys who are always going to be outnumbered. I'm sure in chat we already have heard people say, yes, this realm is always going to be outnumbered because they don't have enough shiny, or nobody wants to play tree huggers, or the Vikings never shower, stuff like that. This is going to be your way of finding out what the realm needs and helping to supply it. And because you're helping the realm in that time of need, the king will give you more things. So it's a wonderful relationship. You need to help the realm, and the realm helps you back. Same, of course, with combatants. We've talked about bounties. Again, no different. I'd always said that we were going to create a crafting system that was going to mirror in a lot of ways what combatants have to go through. This is how we're going to do it. So a couple quick things on work orders. They, of course, will be soulbound. So you can't take a work order and then make off with the materials, or you can't take a work order and not finish it. This is something you're going to have to do. If you don't do it, hey, you're penalized. You didn't do it. Sorry. On the other hand, if you do it well, especially if you do it exceptionally well, you'll have other rewards. If you can get the materials faster, if you can craft those items faster or to a higher quality, if you over-deliver on the quantity, you'll be rewarded by the realm. So let's get to player character apprentices, or the whole idea of an apprentice system. Whether you call this mentoring, apprentice, or in some cases automation, the idea is that we really want to take away some of the burden of the more mundane tasks from the crafters. We want to allow them to go into RVR. They don't have to go into RVR. They can do this themselves, but they might want to go into RVR. They might want to do other things, and that's where PCAs, player character apprentices, or NPCAs, non-player character apprentices, come in. You can hire other players. You can hire them just like bounties to get materials, or you can hire other crafters to do your purifying. You can hire them to watch your Vox. You can have a system where if you don't want to do things on your own, you can find younger crafters or friends or people in your guild to help you out. They are rewarded by taking some of the progression, of course, that you would have gotten. On the other hand, you didn't have to do that, and you managed to get other progression because you were out in RVR. Or you just simply didn't have the time to do it, and so you let them do it. Either way, the Vox, your Vox, is still acting as the gatekeeper, so you still can't create an unlimited number of items. But it also means that for players who are solo, who might not have as much time, and one of the things I have said right from the beginning of this game onto today, and I'll say it going forward, we're making this game not just for the hardest core players. We are not making it just for people who have the most time and who are the hardest core players. We are trying to create a system where people, whether it's our progression system in combat or in the crafting system, where people who don't have as much time can still progress. PCAs and NPCAs is one of the ways they can do that, because by having them, they can get more things done than they would have been able to otherwise. And as I said earlier, if you use a PCA, it helps build the social network now between crafters. So I'll talk about this more in the document, but need to move on. So the Merchant Guild. Haven't talked about this one certainly before. There will be a separate Merchant Guild that people can sign up for. As part of the Merchant Guild, you get to own a store. Now, you can always sell out of your own house. That's not a problem. It's your house. If you want people coming in, dragging mud, all that, that's your choice. But if you want a storefront, you'll have to go through the Merchant Guild. The Merchant Guild allows you essentially to buy a license for the storefront. I'll say again, no cash shop, nothing involved. Yeah, and also gold sellers, the hell with you, because you can't get this just for gold. You have to earn the right to get these licenses. How, folks? Come on, so tell me in chat if you've been paying attention. How do you think you get these licenses to own a store?
Well, we're on a delay. We'll have to wait.
Interactive.
Selling gold.
Selling gold.
No, they're just back at the mud dragging laugh. By crafting, realm rewards, contributing.
Exactly. One of the things that gold sellers hate, you actually have to play the game properly. So, this is not something that's going to encourage gold selling. Quite the opposite. This is something that's going to reward our crafters for participating. And not just participating in RVR, not just participating in crafting, your choice. How you help the realm is up to you. And if you help the realm and you're very good at it, you'll have the opportunity to get a very good storefront. Now, what if you suck at crafting? Well, okay, if you suck at crafting, you're probably best selling out of your house. Sort of like those little shops you see, where you go in and you kind of wonder how the person is making any money because there's nothing in there worth buying. Well, that might be what you're doing. But for the vast majority of people who craft, That's not going to happen. You'll be able to create goods. You'll be able to do the taking. You'll be able to do things that were really going to help your realm. So the Merchant Guild will also have caravans. Caravans are going to be really useful because caravans are going to be the way. I'm going to switch the slides around. Probably should do that as a PowerPoint too. Caravans are going to be the way you take goods from one place to another. Now, caravans are pretty cool. I don't know if we have any art yet. We may. I don't know. I don't think we finished it in time. Hopefully tomorrow. But caravans in this game are not going to be like caravans, necessarily like caravans in other games. The Merchant Guild runs these caravans. These caravans you can put your goods on. You can buy insurance on, so if they're taken, you certainly don't lose everything. The caravans, we do have art?
Yeah, I can show you later in my screen.
Okay,
yeah.
later we're going to show you what one of the caravans is going to look like. So I'm not going to tell you. That way you can be surprised when you see the art. Caravans are also going to be something you absolutely want to take if you're of an opposing realm. If you can get one of the realm caravans as opposed to a player caravan, those things, they usually have really good supplies. And yes, some other games have tried this, but not necessarily have done them well. In this game, I hope we are going to be able to do them well. Whether they're realm caravans or player caravans, it is something that's going to be important to this game, and for one really important reason, and this is a huge differentiating factor from most other games, is that those materials can't carry themselves. You can't load up your character like you can in most MMOs with 20 suits of armor and just walk to your town or to walk to the next town. You're going to have to use caravans to get all the blocks and the other heavy materials to take even some of your own stuff where pack mounts come in to go from one place to another. And that's why caravans are going to be an important part of this game and important for RVR. Because let's face it, if you can raid a caravan, especially a realm caravan, and get all the stuff, you also hurt the other realm's ability to defend itself, especially during a siege. So let's go to stores. Stores serve many purposes within Camelot Unchained, of course. It'll be where your Vox is. It will be where you buy and sell goods. It is absolutely something that we want to customize. We want you as a crafter to have an exterior that is unique. We want in the interior it also to be very unique. Whether you're making these items yourself or other people are making them for you, the idea is the store is going to be a very important part of this game. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to wrap this up and move to the next stage, is Crafter Honor. Crafter Honor and Craft of Fame, really important part of this game. When you look at a crafter and you look at what they can do within the game, certainly the most obvious, of course, is creating weapons for players. But I think there's obviously more they can do, and they've done in other games. We want our crafters to be part of RVR, even if they're not part of the battles. And being part of RVR can mean supplying goods to your realm, can be filling work orders, from donating things to charity, from doing other things within the realm's framework that helps your realm, but doesn't require you actually to get into combat. That is why I think the system is going to work. Because for those who want to get into RVR, for those who want to get involved in sieges, the crafters who want to do that, the opportunity is there for you. On the other hand, if you still want to feel like you're contributing, but you don't have the time or the skill, or frankly even the inclination to go out into the wilderness, you can still earn Crafter Honor. And that's an important differentiator between this and other games. You can contribute. You'll be asked to do it. Choice will be yours, of course. But, it's a way for, I think, crafters who just want to stay in the cities, just maybe, venture out a little bit to the slightly more dangerous areas and can help build out those areas. It's a way for them to earn honor. It is a way for them to earn rewards from their realm. That is what's really important. That we embrace the different play styles. That this crafting system works for casuals as well as more hardcore people. That it gives you a choice, lots of choices, in how you're going to create an item, how you're going to mine, material, how you're going to purify material. All these choices are yours. I've always wanted to create a crafting system and frankly, even more complicated than this one. But the nice thing about it, it may seem really complicated, but a lot of it is actually quite simple. And it's very, tied together. It is a system where all this is not working as something that is, I took this idea, and I don't know how to connect it. As you've heard already, and you'll see also in the document, it is highly interconnected. These systems feed off each other. They are intertwined in a way that I think is going to work, or we think is going to work really well. And so, given the time, I'm going to end this for now. I promise, I'll take some medicine for my throat. I'll come back later. I will do a full Q&A. I'll give you time to read more time to read the entire document. But I hope you guys have liked what you've seen. I'm going to ask Genesee, as usual, for a thumbs up or thumbs down on this, first part of the crafting reveal. I'll tell you that we also are going to put the full document up on our website, and that document, on our forums, and that document will also have a huge Q&A. I went through the forum questions, and I tried to get every one that I could, and I've added it to the document. So not only have the document, but you also have me going through, I think it was 10 or more, 12 pages of user questions that I've answered in the document. So, first off, thumbs up, thumbs down, folks.
Oh, there's tons of thumbs up already. Lots and lots of thumbs up.
Cool. Then let me also say, you guys absolutely have to go over to MOP and MMORPG.com. They have 2 long interviews from me, Bree and Bill and Tim, and I think it was Rob. Hopefully, I'm sorry if it wasn't you, Rob. Asked a lot of really good questions about the crafting system. As I apologized the last time, I'll apologize again for the delay in this. You know all the reasons. And I hope you really loved what you see. And there's more coming. But please go over to MOP, go over to MMORPG.com, and you will see the interview. You'll see all the art from the PowerPoint, and maybe a couple other things in there.
Do you want to show some? We have lots of art.
And I will see you guys later. As always, thank you for the support, and I will definitely be back. Right now, I'm going to kick it over, I believe, to Tyler and Ben.
Not quite yet.
No, not quite yet.
In a couple minutes.
In a couple of minutes. What are we going to do now?
Okay. I need to get over there and do that.
Okay.
Did you want to show some of the crafter art? We have a couple pieces from each realm, if you want people
Sure.
to see. Okay, so while I'm getting set up over there, I'm going to throw you some crafter art. So hang on, this stream's going to continue. Here is the Viking and the Arthurian and the Tuatha Danann and another one. Oops.
Okay, so am I still on, Genesee?
Okay.
So, folks, again, let's go. Let me say what's going to come up next. We're going to go over to Tyler and Ben, who are then going to talk about their work on the latest map. Some of you have seen parts of this map in IT testing, but for the vast majority of you, you haven't seen what we've been working on. And after that, I'm going to come back and do an intro, and then we're going to do some live streaming. And what are we going to be live streaming? Well, if all goes well, we're going to be live streaming 2 things. First thing we're going to be live streaming, though we may reverse the order, is our game's newest biome. We've been making a lot of changes to what you folks saw in the alpha. We're going to start with actually that, a small clip, just as a reminder of how far we've come. And then we're going to show the game live streaming from a normal PC, nothing, not a dual tight-in, not even, a dual 980. Off one of the programmer's machines here, we're going to be live streaming the game. We're going to send out a message to all our alpha, beta 1s in IT to see if we can get some of them to join us live. But we're going to be live streaming that game with a minimum, we hope, of 500 backers and bots in a battle area. So how that works is it will be on the large map, but we've taught the bots and the players to all go, really just kind of get together and fight. So think about it, 400 to 500, hopefully more, backers and bots live streamed, and we're going to show the performance of both the client, obviously, and the server in a fairly non-optimized state. So please keep that in mind. But I think you'll agree after you see it, and for those who've been in our alpha, they've seen it, that we're in pretty good shape in terms of delivering the massive, the large scale, the epic battles that we've told you about. And there will be a few other surprises in that build as well. So, without further ado, I'm going to let Genesee take over and get us to the next stage of this. A lot more stuff coming. As always, thank you for your support, and we'll see you soon.